Peace. That's it. I'm gone. Hey, what's going on, world? It's me again, Ethan Smith, aka Big Sarge, large and in charge of my one and only self, taking myself up off the shelf to discover my greatest internal wealth. And I hope you're doing the same for yourself. You know what it is this week? It's Grunt Speak, or as I like to say the right way, Speak Grunt. When we come through, we speak to you, and I hope you drop down in the chats and you speak to us too. You know who this is for. You know who this would be. 11B, 11 Charlie, 11 Alpha 2. And to my Marine Corps crew, 0311, you know what it do. Now listen again to me. This is by grunts for grunts. Everybody woke, but everybody cannot and will not be a member. But definitely we appreciate you and the support that you bring through. But this is for the grunt brothers and those that's going through. This is for the grunt families and those that's growing through. This is for those individuals who represent that true blue like we do. Just need to get on here and talk to you about, are you relatable? So I would like for you to jump down in the chat, comment, and talk back to me so we can see about this thing. And it's just me. No Whiskey Charlie tonight. Unfortunately, he had to do the work thing right. So you just got to deal with me, Ethan Smith, aka Big Sarge, and I'm sure I'll make it interesting for you. And hopefully we can have a good show too. Ooh, my lips looking a little bit crusty. I hope that's not what you see. Let me grab this chapstick for me as we get ready to do this thing. Drop down in the chat where you're tuning in at, where you're coming from, and please do me a favor and make sure you share this video and let somebody know that they back again, and here we go. But tonight, I simply want to just talk about being relatable. I simply want to talk about being relatable. Able to be related to something else. Able to be related to something else. Let me turn this music down for myself because I'm not for sure how clearly you can hear it, but it's banging in my headphones right now, and it's kind of a distraction to me. So let me see. The leg's feeling great, bro. It's steady going as we go. I think Tuesday I go back and I get this thing up quickly. I get this bandage, removed off of me. So as you can see with me screaming, it's still a little bit sensitive sometimes, but more so in the thighs of mine, re-strengthening those ligaments and tendons and all those things as it's adjusting to this new knee on me. But it's doing pretty good. I haven't done any complaining. I was happy to know that my physical therapist said I shouldn't have much further to go before I'm actually able to throw that ruck back on my back and get back to humping like that. So that was a good thing to know. So maybe in the next month or so, I'll probably start rucking again to get my working out back in to start to build up from this time that I've been sitting around chilling and building businesses and doing other things. So thanks for asking. The leg is feeling all right. It's just a little bit sore, but I'm able to sleep through the night, so I have no complaints. How are you doing, my brother? Being relatable, able to be related to something else. And earlier today, I was thinking to myself, man, what am I going to talk about today on Speak Grunt? What do you have for me today, God, to give to the people who listen to me? And I was talking to my cousin, a family member, and he just said that one simple thing: are you relatable? And he was talking about who I used to be and who I am currently. I can relate. Two bad knees. Yeah, man, they told me at 36 I needed to switch out that thing. So that was 10 years ago. I went on another deployment after that. Rocking and rolling and rucking and doing other things. But this year kind of got the best of me. I went out, did some airsofting with my son and some friends around my birthday, and that knee said not today. So when I went and got it checked out, I figured I could just get it scoped and cleaned out, but they reminded me that I need to replace that knee. So I just went on and did that thing, and I'm just looking to get back to doing me. So I think it'll be pretty good. I realize I have to update the ticker or my intro because it says that we come on Fridays at 9 when it's Sundays at 8:30. So I have to change that thing for me, but that's okay. We'll see. No big deal. Please make sure you share this video with somebody. Let them know that Speak Grunt is on, and I won't be before you long because it's just me, and we gonna see how this thing go. If you was here last week, shout out to Goop, who came in and filled in for Whiskey Charlie. Shout out to Whiskey Charlie again, my brother out there doing what he got to do to take care of his family, doing that working thing. We all know how to relate to that. And as I get back on track, I was talking to a family member today, and he simply said, are you relatable? And he was talking about it in a way for where I'm at in life today, where we're at in life today. And it had me thinking, how do you adjust to the things that you are dealing with in life today? How are you adjusting to the things that we are dealing with in life today? How are you relating? And I think about it. So if you think about what basic training was like maybe back in 1999 and you bring it to the current times, I am not for sure if I would be able to relate to what they currently do going through basic training. Now, I'm not 100% sure how they do it, but I've watched a number of videos and I know certain things. You hear about stress cards and telephones and things of that nature that they have going on. And then for me, I don't know if I would be able to accept that thing because I'm thinking, all right, this is the Army. This is for change, and this is for growing, this is for discipline too. And some of those things have to be removed from you. Here's what I think I know. Here's what I think I know. The powers above me that knows way more about the army, they understood in order to continue to grow this thing, you have to be relating to the individuals in the time and the space that they at today, right? First experience with the army was in 1999, and I thought I was going to get beat, kicked, slapped around, but that wasn't the reality of mine. They were able to do some yelling and smoke you to death, make you do push-ups and work you out. But I'm sure as time went along, they said, okay, we doing some things wrong because we're not attracting the caliber or the quality nor the quantity of people that we need today. And if they wasn't able to change their mind and relate to the individuals of today, how our army, I won't say it would go away, but certain jobs and certain skill sets may go away, because if you're not willing to adjust to something else or someone else and something new, how can you expect them to relate to you? Like, if you're not able to relate to the individuals around you, how do you expect them to follow you? How do you expect them to appreciate or respect you? Because what that's saying is you're not willing to change too. And if you're not willing to change, then you're unrelatable. A lot of times when I first came home in 2006, my wife and my family wasn't able to relate to me because I still had this strong, dominating energy. I still had this team leader controlling energy where I wanted you to not fear me, but listen to me and do what I expected you to do right away. Now, that may have worked for my army days and my privates and my soldiers that was up under me, but that doesn't help with family. They're not relating to task conditions and standards. They're not relating to hurry up and wait. They're not relating to when I say something, I expect you to execute right away. That's not how it's happening every day. And sometimes we get stuck in a space to where we're not able to relate because we're used to doing things a certain way. I know you got to follow me because sometimes I be running all around the tree before I let you get the acorn. Yeah, I'll just say that before I let you get the acorn. But before I forget, this may not be for your kids, but your kids can be blessed by it. And the reason I say that today is because some of the words that we use can have some profanity. And you may not want that your kids to hear that from me. But the message will be clear if you give yourself the opportunity to hear and not judge what you see, but make sure you listening to me. So I had to check myself and ask myself, how am I relating to my current position in life? Right? Rewinding back to 2006, those was questions. 2007 when I came home. Those was questions I wasn't asking myself. I wasn't relating to my current position in life, being back stateside, CONUS, with my family and my wife, going back to my regular job and doing the things that I had to do. I wasn't relatable because I was only looking at life through the eyes of an infantry soldier who had just came back from Iraq. And that's a different mindset. And everybody doesn't know how to deal with that. And again, my question would be, how are you relating to your current circumstances and life for you? How are you relating to your current circumstances and life for you? Is what you have already been through, is it holding you to what you used to be? Or is it pushing you to what you visualize and what you see, where you want to grow and take your family? 2006, that wasn't a thing. 2015, after my last deployment, it was interesting because I realized that I'm more than just a soldier. I'm more than just a staff sergeant. And when I come home, that title is stripped away. That title is gone. Not that it's not who I am, but my family doesn't see me as Big Sarge, old school infantry. Nah, they had to deal with me for the times and the space that we were at today. And if I continue to do things in my old fashioned way, if I continue to be pushing and pressing and stressing them out, then that's not real leadership, right? And a true leader understands you have to be able to relate to what's going on around you and the people who are watching you and who are following you. And sometimes in our current situation, in our own life, we struggle with the PTSD. We struggle with the depressing things because we're still in our mind relating to those previous things and not being relatable to something new where God has placed you or moved you for where you at today. And it's why I say, why is it important to be relatable today? And I think the answer is pretty simple because you want to grow in some way, right? You want to attract people to be amongst you. You want to attract people to trust you. You want to attract people to believe in you and what you're able to do and what you want to do. And again, I believe that's what the individuals in the Army had to understand too. 2006, you had one BFT, that's a Blue Force Tracker for those individuals who don't understand, which was a GPS computer that was in maybe one vehicle out of four, and that was usually the squad leader's vehicle. But when I went back in 2009, each and every vehicle that was down the line had a BFT because they understood in order to be relating, in order to be able to communicate with one another, it was important for us all to have this technology. You need to know your job position, 2 up and 2 down. That was what they poured into me, and that's what they fed into me. But the Army had to exercise that thing. They had to be relating to the current circumstances of the men and the women who was joining this great tradition, this great fraternity. And if you're not willing to do that thing, then you're not willing to truly be changing and be relating in order to grow to where you need to go. If you down there, down below, drop down in the chat and let me know if this is making any sense to you. And if that's not, that's cool too. I'll get back to you later. So it's important, man. It is very important to actually take a look at life for where you at today. Not be afraid to change, not be afraid to walk away from who you used to be or what you used to do. Because if you're a National Guard soldier or were a National Guard soldier like I was, or even if you just came off active duty and you're working in a civilian world, people don't relate to you the way you think they do. Hey, now I'm watching the show while you cooking dinner. I appreciate that, my brother. You cooking dinner? What you need to be cooking dinner for? You got to get that MRE, right? Getting the food for the mind and the food for the belly. That is absolutely right. That's something that you have to relate to too, you know? You have to find something that builds you and that strengthens you. You have to feed your mind mentally. Again, that's a different part of relating. As you can see, the books behind me, it's a bunch of inspirational books. And then I got the David Goggins Can't Hurt Me. And I got his new book, Never Finished 2. And I got some infantry books up front in my other room, in my other bookshelf too. And those things were food for thought to help me change me. It was a book that I read on here, part of a book that I read on here last year, which was about faith. And it was actually turning and going in a different way. And that's what about face is, about faith. So you turning and you going in a different way because you want to relate to the direction of travel that day. You want to relate to the direction of travel in your life today. People respect or hear what you say, but they may not always understand what you are asking of them in a certain way. And if you use a bunch of jargon and military terms or terms from your job, if you work in law enforcement, if you work in nursing, if you work in sales and insurance, and you start bringing in your jargon from a specific industry, then you're not relating. And for me, it's very simple. I attempt to use the simplest words to get my message across. I attempt to repeat things over and over again so it'll sink in. The good book even say, use the simple to conform the wise. And it's something about hearing things more than one time, 2, 3, 4 times, repeatedly, so it sticks in your mind and you can use that thing and you can grow that thing. It's like a seed. You plant that thing, you water that thing, that's cultivated. cultivating, and that thing begins to grow. You don't learn something by doing it one time. No, you have to do these things multiple times. And as life changes on us every day, as life in the world continues to evolve around us, do you adapt and relate to the change, or will you remain the same? Again, the Army is not the same as it was in 1999. Free and relax your mind for my old school grunts who's giving these new grunts and the new Army individuals a hard time, because it's not their fault that the Army changed. It's not their fault that they might have made it softer, man. It's not their fault that they're able to have their phones, or they're able to get stretch cards when things are going wrong. Why? Because the individuals in the world today look and operate in a different energy, in a different space. And if you are a true leader, you have to allow yourself to learn and what's the word that I'm looking for? Give it to me, Holy Spirit. You have to allow yourself to learn and adjust to the way the world is moving today. I'm not saying you have to do everything that the world is doing today, but you have to do some relating if you want to grow and for the people to be okay. He say, ooh wee, MRE. I like to be able to go to the Hey, that's big facts right there. And you put that MRE in your system, it's gonna be there. Absolutely. That don't relate well with the body. MREs was used for a specific need, to give you plenty of protein and plenty of calories for all the things that we were doing when we would be out in the field to sustain you. But that's not something that you eat every single day, because it will definitely hurt you. Trust me. I know. I remember going weekends without hitting the latrine to do that number 2 thing, using those MREs, that bread and that cheese, to plug you up. But when you got home to do what you had to do, whoo-wee, I tell you what, whoever went in the bathroom after me didn't have the best of luck. And we just gonna leave it right there. But just to be clear, why does it affect, or who does it affect? Who does it affect if you continuously remain the same? Who does it affect if you continuously remain the same? Case in point, there's been a multitude of Army installations who have changed their name. Why? Because today in this age, it's affecting people differently, because we no longer look at life for what it used to be. Now, me personally, I'm not offended by some of the old school names from the Confederate generals or that time frame, because that was before me. I'm not attempting to be relating to that part of history, because that's been removed from me. I am attempting to live in my current reality. But again, in order for the Army probably to grow, or for the armed forces or services to grow, they have to attract a younger and the current individuals who can do the job that we used to do. But if you're not relating to me, I'm not relating to you. Then that causes a clash and a conflict too. And the whole thing is to get the mission complete. So what? You got to do some adjusting. We all know the best laid plans go to waste. So yesterday, 20, 30 years ago, when you had a name like Fort Hood, that was okay. But today, with the expansion of the internet and the expansion of information, these individuals today have an opportunity to do more researching, and it's right there at their fingertips when you think about going on the internet and taking a look. And we just in a kinder, gentler space today. And that's okay. You don't got to like it, but it's going that way. I don't agree with everything that's happening today. I don't agree with everything that the mainstream media has to say, but I understand if you want to grow, you have to be willing to relate. And that's one of the things, I'm using this just as a reference point. Abraham Lincoln understood that he needed to be able to relate with not just the southern part of the United States or the northern part of the United States, but he needed everybody to be able to congregate and come together. So he understood whether he wanted to switch and change from slavery or not. If I do not, we will not grow, because now we're not relatable to the masses. We're keeping things a certain way because we want to stay in a certain space. But again, a true leader understands you have to move and adjust and grow in a certain way. Look at it. Go outside. Look at your doorbell. You got a Ring camera today. You get to see people's face clearly. That was something before that we wasn't doing. But now today, having cameras all in your face is easily relatable. Easily relatable. I want to take a look at some of the Army names, the bases who have changed names, and seeing how does it relate today. So start off with the home of the infantry. This one was kind of saddening for me because I know Fort Benning as the home of the infantry, and I never thought they would change that thing. That wasn't something that I was thinking about. I was even processing, because the first thing I heard was Fort Hood had got changed to Fort Cavazos, and it was some other base that I had heard at the time. But what I did not know, it was more like 7, maybe 8 or 9 bases that has changed their name, because based on what it used to be, how it represented a certain part of the Confederacy, or it represented someone who didn't represent today's society. But for what it used to be, it was okay. Fort Benning, Georgia has been changed to Fort Moore after Army Lieutenant General Hal Moore. And if I'm not mistaken, it says Hal Moore here received a Distinguished Service Cross for heroism in the Vietnam War. And Julia Moore, his wife, was an advocate for military families. We Were Soldiers, I believe, was the name of that thing. The movie where Mel Gibson played Colonel Hal Moore, and he started out at Fort Hood with the Cav Scouts, and they brought in the helicopters and those things. So be able to change from Fort Benning to Fort Moore doesn't sound like a bad thing. What? When did they make the name change? Let me give you the exact date. Let me go to the Army Times, man. But this has happened within the last 6 months or so, 6 months, 9 months. So yes, Fort Benning has been changed officially. Let me do my internet researching. And this is what's so great. I'm not always on a computer, but I'm able to relate, because if I had to get this information for you back in the day, I would have had to go to the library. I would have had to pull out that long index box and find my certain encyclopedia and go look up all the information. That could have took me all day, like snail mail. You probably don't want to wait. But now, since we able to relate to technology, I could just go on Google, I could go to Siri, I could go to Chat GPT and ask that thing, when did they change this name? Please tell me. When did Fort Benning change its name? Boop, 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 boop. So this became official. Fort Benning was renamed Fort Moore in ceremony in Columbus, Georgia, officially on May the 11th, 2023. So not even 6 months. See, you talking about almost 60 days. May, June, July, August. We running up on 90 days that the name has went away. Yep. No more Fort Benning, but of course, you know what's old school infantry. It will always be Fort Benning to me. It will always be Fort Benning to me. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm able to be unrelating to the change, but I know what it means to me, man. I wasn't alive during those times when it was slavery. I'm just grateful. God has blessed me. I was blessed to be born in a time where things were a little bit freer for individuals like me. And for people that want to come on here with that color shit, don't come on here disrespecting, because you know I don't play that. We don't get down like that. I don't see color, as a matter of fact. I see how an individual treats me and how I treat them. Am I able to relate to him, her, or you? Now, I don't get all involved in the alphabet soup. That's not my group. I stay away from those things. But I'm not disrespecting those individuals, because it's okay for them to do and live their life how they want to today. Back in the day, you could say the word gay and nobody took it in an offensive way. You could say gay now and they might just attempt to shut you down because they don't do their research that understands that gay has more than one definition. It actually means happy and carefree too, not just homosexuality. But if you're not relating mentally, if you're not relating spiritually and emotionally, you're just looking at things for what they used to be, such as me saying Fort Moore, although I have respect for the individual that Mel Gibson played Hal Moore, will always be Fort Benning to me. Next up on the list, Fort Bragg. Now, there's a lot of ones on here that I didn't even know changed. Fort Bragg has now been changed to Fort Liberty. Fort Gordon has been changed to Fort Eisenhower after President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who also was a 5-star Army general and served as the Supreme Allied Commander of forces in Europe during World War II. Now, I don't know what Fort Gordon was or the Mr. Gordon or whoever it was named after, what he was able to do, but Fort Eisenhower, for him to be a 5-star general, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think that's a bad thing. Moving right along, you got Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia, which is now Fort Walker, after Dr. Mary Edwards Walker, the first female surgeon in the Civil War and the only woman awarded the Medal of Honor. That's interesting. Now, I definitely know that's got to be pretty relatable for some women that's actually been serving. That has to be a great opportunity to show the growth that our military has been experiencing. And again, are you relating to the times that you're in? Are you living in this world's current reality, or are you mentally stuck and where you used to be? And I think that's why a lot of our infantry brothers or individuals who's been in combat are struggling, that we deal with the PTSD because we are stuck on these things that we previously seen. Let that sink in. Excuse me. Some of us are stuck on the things that we previously seen, not allowing ourselves to do any type of growing, not allowing ourselves to do any type of evolving. How can you say you want to be better for yourself if you're not able to relate to someone else, if you're not willing to make a change for yourself? Everything may not be for you to be relating to, but there is a multitude of things if we look at that can be changed. America itself, we wasn't relating to what England was doing to us. No taxation without representation. No longer will we be taken advantage of. We want to do our own thing because you're not relating to what we actually have going on over here at the time of our split, right? I know. Use it simple to conform to wise. Move on. Fort Hood. Everybody know, you go to Texas, people ask, you been to Fort Hood? Would you station at Fort Hood? Would you station at Fort Hood? You go to Fort Hood, you get stuck there. Well, no longer is it Fort Hood. Fort Cavazos. And sometimes name changes can be good because it helps you to build a new a new thought process. It helps you to separate from the title of what things used to be and the tragedies or the atrocities or the negative things that happened under an old regime. Specifically for me, when I was a kid, people called me EJ. And now today, I don't choose to be called EJ. Call me by my name, which is Ethan, because I don't do things the same way that EJ, which is I'm still the same man, used to do. But for some individuals, that name comes with negative connotations and they still attribute those things of your past to you. So sometimes changing your name or adapting a new moniker or adapting a new title helps you to shift and grow from what you used to know. Just imagine if we would have continue to live life like we did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, even the 90s. Like we're on the internet and we're typing everything and we're FaceTiming and we're comfortable with that thing. We're putting things on camera that probably don't need to be seen. And 10 years from now, you don't want to be seen. But being on camera has become a comfortable thing. Letting people into your life has been a comfortable thing when before that's something that you wouldn't do day nor night. Only people that was close to you knew what you was really into. But now to be on camera and to be in selfies and to be doing TikTok videos and all those things, that's making people relatable to who you are and what you do. Let me drop that down in the chat too, just in case you didn't get a chance to catch that grow. I want to say that was May 11th, 2023, where they changed the name from Fort Hood to Fort Moore. I just said that because I looked at your chat comment and I wanted to make sure that I gave that to you. Boom. That's when that name changed. It looks like I got to do some updating, man. I got to take my Mr. Peen off, Big Sarge on here, so you could be relating to me and not just see me as Mr. Peen doing that thing. Having trouble connecting, please check your internet connection. Hopefully you still here with me and you can see me and I'm still connecting, because on my end it's still saying I'm live doing the thing and the ticker is counting for me. So I don't know what Facebook got going on, but we're going to continue to move on and we're going to get back to the name change. When will you make the shift or adjustments to be more relatable in your life and your current reality? When will you make the shift or adjustments to be more relatable to your current reality? If you have a family like me, if you have individuals that's been sticking with you for everything that you have went through, for everything that you are growing through, for everything that your higher power, God, Buddha, Allah is showing you, if you have a family as a king, this is for my men specifically, it is up to you to do some changing. It is up to you to do some relating, because just like in the infantry, you had team leader, squad leader, you had privates and specialists and Joes that was following. They were a representation of you and how you do what you do. And when we remove ourselves from the military, whether you are not there for the day, whether you're not there for the end of the night, whether you ETS, when you go home with your family, right? You have to take off that cap and you have to put on another hat to be the father, to be the husband that they can relate to. You have to sit down and talk to them about what they're going through. And then talking to them about what they're going through, it helps you with what you're growing through. And it helps for your family to be more relatable to the current circumstances and situations that's upon you. You don't have to look at yourself based on what you used to do. I know if someone calls me or somebody says something to me and they use the name EJ, I know they know me from way back in the day. I know they know me from way back in the day. And it's only a few individuals in my life it's only a few individuals in my life today that still addresses me that way. And most of those individuals are family members or a friend that I've known for 20 plus years, or somebody that maybe have went to high school with me. But most of the people that I talk to now, they see Ethan Smith, aka Mr. Peen. A lot of individuals don't even know I do the speak grunt or the grunt speaking, because a lot of individuals don't believe that I was part of the true blue combat infantry. Why? Because that's not how I carry myself, and that's what I'm protruding or portraying from me. That's not what's sticking out when you see. Not that I'm ashamed of that thing, but I've grown past that thing because I'm living and working in my current reality. Are you living and working in your current reality? If God has removed you from a space such as Iraq or Afghanistan today, I implore you to enjoy your life today. And if you are still struggling with some of the things that you faced during those days, I implore you to go get some help today. Yes, the VA may not be the greatest, but the VA is still a tool that we able to use. And the things that you willing to do, the things that you willing to work for, the things that you willing to research to find to help you will find you. But you have to be able to relate to where you want to go, not where you used to be. What are your fears of changing? The Army wasn't thinking about what everybody was going to say when they was going to change the name of those forts today. We need to get people coming in through these gates. We need to get new soldiers today. If we still going to defend this great United States, we need to allow them to use the crow system instead of being up there in the gun turret with no protection, no true protection. And the crow system is basically like I don't want to say mechanical. It's a computer electronically manned gun. So you're sitting in the vehicle, maybe almost like you're playing a video game. You don't have to be up standing outside the vehicle, man. They learned that they had to be adjust to relate to the battlefield the way that it was currently. In 2006, I was standing up in the gun turret doing that thing. In 2009, there was other vehicles that was around mine that had the crow system to where everybody was inside the truck. In 2003, if you ask some of my friends who went back then in 2003, 2002, during the initial invasion, they was riding on the back of cargo Humvees with a troop strap. They didn't have no protecting. But that wasn't relating to the current situation and the times as the war continued to go on. So that's a part of freeing and relaxing your mind to a space to where you're able to grow, to show the enemy as you evolve, we evolve too. And we're going to be able to relate to the circumstances and the situations on this battlefield. Are you able to relate to the circumstances and the situations in this battlefield of your life today? Or are you making excuses and blaming everyone for why you're not doing what you say you want to do? As I get on to the next name, I'm going to say this again. Fort Hood, Texas is now Fort Cavazos, after Army General Richard E. Cavazos, who received Distinguished Service Cross for heroism in the Vietnam War. Fort Cavazos. I had a buddy of mine named Cavazos who was on my second tour in Iraq with me. And if I watch his Facebook from time to time, he's doing some different things that's relating. He's actually doing a lot of hockey and he was doing some refereeing. So in order to be relatable to what hockey may be, he probably had to do some studying. And I'm sure he was able to take some of his infantry skills and some of the things that he learned, but he had to also leave some of those things behind too in order to move on and relate to the new thing that he do. And it's the same thing for me and you. It's the same thing for me and you. Relatable is simply able to be related to something else. I don't know about yourself, but I don't use Chat GPT. I haven't even subscribed to that thing because to me, I'm not relating to using so much technology. I'm still kind of old-fashioned conservative. I still want a pen and paper, write that thing down for me because it's something between that hand and brain connectivity. When you write that thing down and you're not just saying, Chat GPT, what's relatable for me? And please, no, I'm not disrespecting any individual who's all about using Chat GPT because I'm sure at some point in time in my life, I will use that thing too once I learn how to relate to it and what it's able to do and what I want to do through Chat GPT and how it can help me. Are you able to be relating to something else? enabling the person to feel that they can relate to someone or something. Most definitions have two meanings. Fort Lee, Virginia. I definitely remember the name of this place. Never been there, but I heard it was pretty soft back in the basic training days. Those in Fort Sill, but I've never been there, and they haven't had basic training in a very long time at Fort Lee, Virginia, I think. But Fort Lee, Virginia is now Fort Greg Adams. Excuse me. After Lieutenant General Arthur Gregg and Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams. Gregg was a key figure in the integration of black soldiers into the Army. Adams was one of the highest ranking female soldiers in World War II. Wouldn't you know? You learn something new. Fort Pickett. Hair so nappy Wilson couldn't pick it. I think I heard Martin Lawrence say that. Fort Pickett, Virginia is now Fort Barfoot, after Army Tech Sergeant Van T. Barfoot, who received the Medal of Honor for his actions with the 45th Infantry Division during World War II in Italy in 1944. Shout out to Fort Barfoot, my infantry brother, infantry soldier. Ooh, we all heard of this place, especially if you was in the infantry. JRTC, Fort Polk. Fort Polk, Louisiana is now Fort Johnson. Fort Polk, Louisiana is now Fort Johnson after Army Sergeant William Henry Johnson, who received the Medal of Honor posthumously for action in the Argonne Forest of France during World War II. Fort Rucker, Alabama. I've heard of Fort Rucker. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe down in Fort Rucker, they may do some things with sniper school and sniper training. Fort Rucker, Alabama. Fort Novacel. Fort Novacel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Or Navacel. November, Oscar Victor, Oscar Sierra Echo Lima. Fort Navacel. After Army Chief Warrant Officer for after Army Chief Warrant for Michael J. Novacel, an aviator who received the Medal of Honor for medevac mission under fire in Vietnam, where he saved 29 soldiers. Now that's just amazing. Looking at some of these name changes again, like I said, you have to think about how that relates to their family, how proud they may be, and sending these camps and these forts in a new direction. When I was back in Iraq in 2006, I was at Fort Rustamaya, which used to be Camp Cuervo. Yeah. And no longer was it Fort Mester Maya when I was back in 2009, I believe. I don't remember. I think they did some name changing because sometimes things get a bad connotation, a negative connotation when it's tied to a certain name, because you're not being relatable to your current reality. And people get stuck on a name based on what it used to be. We sometimes get stuck in the infantry because we only see things the infantry way. And when you go to a different part of the Army, you realize you cannot operate in that space. You have to be relating to the current space and something else in the times you in today. And that's where we at in life today. You don't have to accept everything that they put before you, but you have to be willing to change in order to grow you. And again, my question would be, what are you afraid of when it comes to changing? What are you afraid of when it comes to changing? Where some of us, not all, some of us are more relatable to our kids than our parents were relatable to us. Some of us are more relatable to our spouses than previous generations may have been. Some of us are more relatable to the modern terms of what it means to be a man in comparison to what it used to be. Some of us are still stuck at where we used to be or what we used to see, and it's crippling. It really is. Hope all is well. Great content. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that, man. Everything is going good. But some of us get stuck relating to what we used to be, and we don't see who we are in our current reality. Again, talking to my cousin who was talking to me, he was like, man, I'm just so happy to see. I'm just so proud to see where you at today. I remember when you was not speaking like this, when you wasn't thinking like this, when you was just doing EJ. You ain't care about what nobody else had to say to a certain degree. You was just living life on your terms, being what you wanted to be. But now you're more relatable to what the current reality of the landscape of our world can be. It's called not being so closed-minded. It's called not being so closed-minded. And when you're not willing to learn to relate to someone else, that means you might not have a true relationship with yourself. When you're not willing to learn how to be relatable or understanding of someone else, you may not be truly relating or understanding of yourself. Because in this life, we are going to, hopefully, you should be growing every day, because you dying in some shape, form, or fashion in some way. You may not see the physical change in my face, but if you go look at my picture from a couple years ago, I look the same, but I don't look the same. Because our body is always adjusting and relating to our current space. You lose so many skin cells every single day. If you could see the things that's actually growing on our body and that's happening in our body, it would disgust you in some way. But if it didn't do that thing, where would we be at today? Where would we be at today? We are attempting to be able to relate. For my brothers that's struggling with PTSD today, for my sisters that's struggling with PTSD today, I am a walking, breathing, living example of you will be okay. If you put yourself in an uncomfortable space in order to grow you in some way, you can make it today. Think about what you've already overcome and what you've been through and how powerful you are because of that. Don't let the fear, don't let the atrocities and the things that happened in your past hold you back from being relatable in your current life today. You gonna be okay, but you gotta believe it for yourself today. You gotta believe it and feel it in your spirit today. You got to believe it and you'll know it in your heart today. You don't have to worry about what everybody else say. You got to know, hey, I'm able to relate. I'm able to relate to the environment and the neighborhood that I live in today. I'm able to relate to my children today. I'm able to relate to my wife today. Why? Because I got to a point where I had to tell myself, hey, you know what you've been through? It's okay. What you've been through don't break you. What you've been through builds you. What you've been through don't break you. What you've been through builds you. We went through basic training, AIT too. We went through combat, but all of those things were building you for what you may currently do. What you've been through don't break you, it builds you, because you had to be relatable to what you were currently able to do. Being relatable is about living in your current situation and circumstances and not letting those things of your past hold you. Relating to something else, someone else, not just looking at it from your own lens, your own eye landscape, and worrying about yourself. The Army had to change multiple bases names because they knew they couldn't remain the same if we think we're going to continue to attract individuals into this industry. No, let me see if there's another name out here for me. Nope, that's it. So as we recap and I look back, Fort Benning is now Fort Moore, Fort Bragg is now Fort Liberty, Fort Gordon is now Fort Eisenhower, Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia is now Fort Walker, Fort Hood, Texas is Fort Cavazos, Fort Lee, Virginia is Fort Gregg Adams, Fort Pickett, Virginia is Fort Barfoot, Fort Polk, Louisiana, JRTC is Fort Johnson, Fort Rucker, Alabama is Fort Novosel. If the Army is willing to change their names on basis, you can change as well. But you got to start being relatable to someone else. You have to start being relatable to someone else. You have to. Do you see your life for what it is today? Or are you still living in your past in your old negative ways? Are you willing to change to be relatable today? Are you willing to move forward from what everybody else may say, what they have to say? Are you willing to be okay with your growth today? Being relatable happens in a multitude of ways. One, you take the time and free and relax your mind and accept yourself for who you are in your current reality. Two, you take the time to free and relax your mind and set goals, dreams, and plans for where you want to be. Three, you take the time to free and relax your mind and definitely make sure you tune into your spirituality so it can help you grow to where you want to be. And four, no more do you have to live in where you used to be. And as Les Brown would say, used to be's don't make no honey today. So who you used to be and what you used to do, if it's not helping you in your current reality, I need you to say peace, because I need to be relating to where I want to be, not who I used to be. I hope this motivation and inspiration was something for your situation. As Mr. Peen would say, to free and relax your mind as if you are on vacation. This has been Grunt Speak, Speak Grunt. Another wonderful, beautiful week where we come to you, where we come through and we speak to you about some things we have been going through, which is able to grow you to where you want to be. Take advantage of the time in your current reality. Take advantage of the love from the God or whatever higher power that represents you that's inside of you. Take advantage of you learning you, because you deserve to live the life of the king and the queen that's inside of you. But you gotta be able to be relating to something else or someone else other than yourself. Please do me a favor and make sure y'all share this video, drop some comments down below, and tune back in with us next week where it will be hopefully me and Whiskey Charlie, but if not, it will be me, and I hope to see you jumping down in the chat, and I appreciate that. My brother Grow, who's been here representing with me. Thank you, my brother, and for the people that's watching who I do not see, I thank you too. Be strong, stand strong, and know you more than capable to get through anything that you're going through. That's it. That's all I got for me. We're going to drop this thing short, about a minute or two, G. And have a blessed night. I want to say peace. Boom. Boom. Boom.